welcome to First Glance with Jody Vance. This is going to be a very cool conversation. We got Brayden Sutton with us, and he is talking the BC Bud Co. This is such a cool story. So first and foremost, welcome to First Glance with Jody Vance. This is your premiere appearance.
Thank you, Jody. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
With your heritage in the cannabis and psychedelics lane, we could sit and talk for hours about all kinds of stuff, but I want to talk specifically about BC Bud Co. BCBC is your ticker. I think that's so fun and so apropos for the company that you are here to tell us all about. Let's get into it. What is the BC Bud Co?
Thank you so much, Jody. Well, it is a house of brands. It's a cannabis company based here in BC. It is founder-led. We are pretty much coast to coast now, got about 30 different products across 5 provinces, cover all the important segments. We do flower, pre-rolls, edibles, vapes. Been around now for a little over a year. We are founded by experts, veterans in this space. I've been in this space many, many years. My partner Josh Taylor and Mark Lustig both have made major waves in the space throughout Canada and the US. We are a public company as well, so we're really trying to take advantage of what has been a really soured sentiment sector. We have, we're only about 4 years into legalization in BC. The initial kind of hoorah has left the building. So the people here now really want to be here. They want to leave their mark. I do remind people that if you look back to like the repeal of prohibition in the United States back in 1933, it was a solid decade of a battle kind of between the old black market and the new legal regime and framework. So we're still in the early days and working hard to keep the sort of legacy of BC Bud going and making sure that we're part of the positive, really next 20 years of this industry.
It's interesting that you say that the shine sort of went off the initial like, wow, oh my gosh, can you believe it? It's actually recreational. Here we go. And yet in the years, decades really leading up to that, BC has been known, to have the best bud and that brand of, people out here in Lotus Land were always known to be those who would use the herb, as it were, in a way that was more than just like up in smoke-esque. It's more of a culture here. It's celebrated in a way. The product, the end product is so important when you talk about the flower and the pre-rolls and the edibles and the, each of those things. As soon as you say the BC Bud Company, for me, is that those would be curated, tested, and wanting to be the very best of the best, sort of that brand alignment.
You hit the nail exactly on the head. So our job is cut out for us. Everything we put out, significant amount of manpower and effort goes into curating and bringing out only the most valuable offerings to the space. So one thing we really didn't want to do is just be another redundant cannabis brand. I mean, these stores have got quite literally hundreds of different options to choose from. So you have to differentiate yourself. You have to really check every box. The product has to be phenomenally good, new valuable strains that smoke extremely well, that have good effect, but then also have a decent price point. So it's a really hard industry to sort of check the mark. A lot of companies are doing well now, and there's actually been a big change of guard from this new legal regime as well. And we also have a very robust black market, frankly. So it's anybody's guess what will happen in BC in particular. We do have a very strong cannabis culture, and a lot of the California trends kind of come up through Portland, Seattle, and then Vancouver. And Vancouver's really mastered a lot of things, but I think we've always had California to kind of look at as a lens in the future of where we're headed. But yeah, BC is very much embedded into the culture. Certainly, I'm up in the interior here where it's a part of life. It's a way of life for a lot of people. Now the job for the C45 legal operators is to get back the trust of the space, because the capital markets came fast and furious, and much like I almost would put it up to like Vancouver mining scene, where there's the buy the rumor, sell the news. And what ultimately happened was legalization occurred. The bankers, the analysts went, okay, well, the catalyst has happened. What's next? Be it psilocybin, back to uranium and rare earths. Now the precious metals are hot again. So it's interesting to me that when legalization occurred in October of 2018, the life just came right out of the capital markets for cannabis. So it's up to the operators to really perform, because we don't have that initial fluff, that hysteria that brought in. And frankly, I will point out, it brought out more retail mom and pop investors than anything in the history of the capital markets. So it definitely was something that people wanted to be a part of. and now we're, we've got the baton to do well by the people.
It's all about having that foundation in order to have the legs to make it into the business that I think you're talking about wanting. And you said that what you're doing with the BC Bud Co. is about being founder led, and that you do have people behind the scenes at your company who are not new to this. You just said it brought out a lot of people who wanted to be a part of it because, as is with many cool new things, everybody wants to grab a little bit of that lightning in a bottle. But here you've been on the scene along with your associates, really being a part of the change that we see ourselves at now, and then to be able to build beyond.
Yeah, and I think that's, from an investment point of view, that's critically important to invest in companies where the management is not only vested and all in, but has real financial skin in the game, which we all have. Myself and my partners have over $1 million each in this company from its inception, so considerable equity, not to mention being our life, quite literally. Josh Taylor, as an example, he spent years with me in Los Angeles, bringing some of the top brands into Las Vegas. And we learned a lot, everyone from Tony Hawk to a bunch of rappers to DNA Genetics and Jack Herer. And so we really, I would say, figured out the licensing model in this space, and in not having top heavy infrastructure plays, but being the brand that you can go to the infrastructure, you can dictate terms and SOPs and pricing, do the pop-up at the store, create the demand. Josh has an incredible history. I was part of the formation of Supreme Cannabis in Canada, which was hugely successful, one of the best names. It was bought by Canopy for $454 million. We have Mark Lustig on the team. He formed Origin House, which was bought by Cresco Labs for $1.1 billion, the only real big American cannabis exit to date. Mark's an absolute legend. He covers the US through Cresco. He's involved in Germany, Israel, South America. So we have people that are genuine experts in this space that have sold many, many millions of individual SKUs and products and been a part of some major brand creation. And I think it is important to point out too, we own the lion's share of this company. The three of us have about 70% of the whole company, which also from a risk mitigation point of view, I've always deemed, certainly a public entity, if you have a sort of a placeholder CEO, they're always a flight risk in my view. You want to find CEOs that are there to either go down
Invested
with that ship or to see it through. It seems like
to build.
It sounds simple, but it's not common, unfortunately, especially in this space. And I definitely encourage people just to ensure to find out what sort of not just skin in the game, but percent of ownership the management really has.
Brayden Sutton is the BC Bud Co. team on the team leader. What do we call you? What's your title?
I am the CEO of the company and co-founder. Yeah.
CEO and co-founder. I like that. BCBC is the ticker stock symbol. You got some serious history that if somebody's looking to invest, they can look to the history of the names that you just rattled off. I mean, I'm no expert on cannabis, and yet you just mentioned names that I'd heard of before. I'm more the interviewer than I am the expert here. So Brayden, you really do have history here that I think an investor might be able to look at and say, okay, I can see who I'm investing in here.
Definitely history. I would say I'm qualified for the job, which again sounds terribly obvious, but is not always in this space. I actually was a medical. I was the youngest federal licensed medical cannabis patient in Canada in 2004. I was only 19 years old. So that really introduced me to a lot of physicians in the space and really gave me a real passion for the medical side of things. So I come to the space very honestly, always wanted to, identify or basically treat any sort of health ailments as natural as I could my whole life. Cannabis was a plant, along with many other things. It's been a great solution for a lot of people for a lot of things. So for me, it really is about wellness and better living. It's not just so much a recreational play, as that word is used so much. There's many different types of segments in this business, but for me, it's again putting out products that are a value add that help people, that stand out amongst everything else. But yeah, our products are highly convicted. We're here because we want to be. I can't stress that enough. This is a company that we want to really make a mark and create a generational cannabis brand for this province.
As we were setting up to do this interview, you had said something that I want to touch on. Know the jockey, not just the horse.
Well, there's a great piece of research that was done years ago on the TSX venture in Toronto, and it basically just broke down the percent of stock performance relative to insider ownership. And the reality, especially with junior micro cap, we're a CSE small cap company. Things happen, sectors ebb and flow dramatically in this space. It's a volatile space.
Right.
If you invest in the jockey that can sort of manage the situation regardless of what happens, typically your capital tends to be safer. Again, historically, statistically, when you try to bet on something based on a trend or a time, although you need timing, that's where people often get burned. So usually in junior markets, and it's well documented, bet on management teams, bet on solid structures, bet on history, people that have done what they're saying they're going to do, and generally you'll be in a lot better shape.
It's always a risk to invest. And yet when you do it with all of those pieces that you just explained, Brayden, you can have an opportunity to invest in something that you believe in and that you want to be involved in at a time where it is, as you said, narrowing from what was the big boom. The BC Bud Company, BCBC, a public company with major founder investment in it. Where do people go online to find out more or connect with you?
Yeah, we are all over social, Twitter, Instagram, the BC Bud Co. Also our corporate website, www.thebcbc.com. Yeah, that'd be about it. Or reach out to us directly.
I'm going to follow you on Twitter right now. It's been a pleasure. You make sure you circle back and keep us posted on what's happening with BCBC. I think the message to the country and then eventually the world, I would say, is a sound one, as somebody born and raised in BC, and in particular the Lower Mainland, noted as Lotus Land and ground zero for all things BC Bud. So there you go.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jody. Thank you for having me.